So EHUBs or e-exchanges, well, e-anything is an automated or digital version of that word. So if you talk about an e-exchange, in the old days, marketplaces and be it, markets for vegetables or livestock, sellers would come with what they had to offer and buyers would come and they would barter and they would tender and they would reach an agreement on a sale. And digitizing that, bringing that into the 21st century of automation and innovation is really been the realm of these e-hubs or e-exchanges, which were obviously very popular around the time of the dot-com boom, and I think there were greater expectations on them than were realistic. But those that have lasted and those that have supported, business to business or business to consumer or even consumer to consumer, I think there are a couple of good examples for that. But just to pause and quickly talk about the concept, really is to provide an online platform within which people can perform the same function as they did when they went to the physical marketplace. And if you look at practical applications of this in our organization would be things like a supplier portal where suppliers could place their invoices in a digital format. They could also provide their catalogs. They could expose their pricing to us in an electronic format. And with our purchasing system, we could punch out into their catalogs. Or those catalogs could be hosted in this concept of an e-marketplace or an e-exchange or an e-hub, as you mentioned. And that means that multiple suppliers could make use of the same hub together with multiple purchases of those same catalogs and the commodities and goods and services provided in those catalogs. So practically speaking, what that means is a purchasing organization in a company such as FNB, largely speaking for the commodity side of the business, could log on and check what the lowest price point is for a specific commodity that they want to purchase. And presuming, of course, that you've got all the necessary legal and other required regulatory paperwork, etc., sorted out, and that would mean you can then trade. And you can use that exchange to go and purchase, the stationery or the desks or whatever it is that you require for the organization at that point in time. So to look at a couple of examples, bid or buy is an interesting one in a retail sense of the word. Globally, and that's our local example. Globally, we've all been well aware of eBay, where you can bid for items. And that really is a marketplace. You can see, in some cases, other people's bids. You can then, update your bid. And for the seller, that drives the price upwards. And that's to their advantage. And just as much as you would attend a live auction for a painting, you would obviously want to buy that painting and be prepared to outbid other purchasers. Now, the interesting thing where you use e-exchanges or e-hubs for a reverse auction, it's reversed in two senses. The first one is that it's not to sell something, it's actually to buy something. And the second aspect is that it doesn't necessarily drive the price up, it drives the price down. So it's to the advantage of the purchasing organization. So we initiate the reverse auction. And depending on the innovation in the marketplace or the e-hub that you might be using, some of them offer you a graphical display of the price point during the period within which multiple suppliers could be bidding for that business. And then there's a cutoff and they take the lowest price and then transact with that supplier. I think you obviously in the Commerce One, Commerce Edge environment, BizHub, etc., there are a couple of those which have stood the test of time. Reba and similar companies and similar products had fairly popular offerings in the early 2000s, and not all of them, as I've mentioned, have survived. And really, I guess a key concept in that whole technology and how companies are using that to get a better purchasing process is the cloud. And that's not something that one should be confused about. It's just enabling that bidding process and the exposure of catalogs, etc., into that marketplace through the internet. And that's really all it is. The degree to which you house and maintain key information in that cloud environment drives the degree to which you are invested in the cloud. And there could be variations of that that companies will use to the degree that they are comfortable with. So I think, e-exchanges and e-hubs are here to stay. I personally don't think they've had the traction that has matched the hype, in that area. Purchasing, and as I say, for the niche commodities where the bulk of your spend is going to go, if you look at the big ticket items, particularly in a financial services environment, big marketing campaigns, big investments in IT, human capital, etc., properties and infrastructure and so on. And a lot of those high value purchases are a little bit still more the one-to-one purchasing and supply relationship driven. But for the commodity purchases where there really doesn't make too much difference and you just want to have an efficient and clean process, I think there is definitely a place for them. But the volume, I think, still has to pick up. And from a first rand point of view, where it makes sense for our business and where it gives our sourcing professionals the tools to do their job better, we'll most definitely invest in the latest innovative technology to support our ability to drive the best price point for the goods and services that we need to purchase.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.